welcome one and all to Outside the Fire. I'm your host, the great Jay Leno. Tonight we have a very special guest coming on to talk about the censorship present in Fahrenheit 451. He'll be addressing the essential questions of how the censorship came to be and some of the factors that created and allowed the system to continue on. Please welcome our guest, Captain Beatty.
I fell into a burning ring of fire.
Thank you for having me on, Mr. Jay Leno.
You're quite welcome, Captain Beatty. So, let's start off at the beginning. How did this censorship start?
Well, you see, one could argue that the censorship started during the Civil War, when the English books were burned in order to establish our ideals as the primary ideals of the American society. One could also argue that these first ideas were brought together by Benjamin Franklin, who was the very first fireman to burn books. We don't know, but he was the very first one to do that.
Ben Franklin? Really? Now, why would he be the first to burn the books?
Now, see, that I am not 100% certain about, Jay Leno. But the tale has gone down generations unless it's been lost. But what we may think it is now today is that he was one of the very first people to have a fire station in America, the founding father, I guess you could say, of that. And he was also the first person to have a printing press. So one could maybe have a correlation between the two as he brought the news to the American people.
How dare you, sir? That's very un-American of you, accusing the founding father of this great nation of such a conspiracy.
Mr. Jay Leno, you know I'm beginning to see why we did this whole thing. Facts like these make you angrier, they make you sad. And as the world gets bigger, you get more conflicting views and more different kind of natures of that. And books were something that could go unchecked. They could contradict one another all the time. One book would say something, but then it would be contradicted in another book. This gives people the ideas, and then they become miserable because they don't know what to believe anymore. The reality seems distorted. So we set in motion a plan to rid us of all of this and make the population itself happy. We decided to burn the books, and we used firemen to do so, seeing as they were the greatest candidates to do so. Buildings all around the world were being fireproof, so by sending the firemen in, we could burn the books quite easily. And this would have been possible by any other means, unless, of course, which actually did happen, that people wanted us to burn these books.
Whoa, wait. You mean the people asked for it? All the books were burned? Now, this is a good time to break for commercial, so we'll get his response after the break. Welcome back to Outside the Fire with me, your host, Jay Leno, and our very special guest tonight, Captain Beatty. Now, Captain, before the commercial break, we were discussing how the people wanted the books burned and that you burned every single one. Well,
you see, I might have over-exaggerated that a little bit. You see, we did not burn all the books. The books were banned, but they were only banned if they had different perspectives on things, or they were books that could make you sad or miserable or any sort of negative emotion. We don't want that. We did keep some kind of books, like for example, we kept comic books. Comic books were very, very good, and they dulled the mind, and they were good, you know, Spider-Man, Batman, the classic books, they were good. We kept the picture books. Picture books are very good for the kiddies if they like to read, and it keeps them occupied and entertained with the nice pictures and all that. And we also kept the pornographic material, you know, that's just enticing all on its own.
Now that, Captain, sounds like my kind of America.
That is! It is! That is everyone's kind of America, you see. If you have too many of these perspectives on different things, then it can make you miserable. It can make you unhappy by knowing all this knowledge about how your America might suck, or it might not be good. The government doesn't want that. They want you to be happy. We want you to only think of one thing. We want to control you and make you think that you are happy 100% of the time. And by destroying the books, we could definitely do that.
You're a communist!
If anything, that sounds more fascist, but regardless, you know. These tactics, these tactics are needed regardless. One of the bigger factors of controlling the population, and one of the things that we need to keep this going for is the fact that we have overpopulation in America. There's too many people, too many different perspectives, or that they could have different perspectives. We're doing quite a fine job. We don't want them to think about the wars that America's in. We don't want them to think about the corrupt politicians, or we don't want them to think about food shortages. We just want them to concentrate on one thing, and that is their happiness.
So, in effect, I'm going to call it, you're creating kind of a hive-like society.
Yes, I am. And how we do that is quite simple, really. What we do is we like to, I'm going to use a very quick metaphor, we like to snatch them from the cradle as soon as possible. What I mean by that is as soon as a kid's born, we give them maybe about 2 years with a mother, and then we take them into kindergarten. And by putting them into school so early, what we can do is actually indoctrinate them quick and early, and while their minds are still developing and still trying to create their ideas. This makes it so that they don't make their own ideas, and they quite simply just get to continue forward by thinking the way we want them to. Another good way to do this is, as the kids progress through school, is we give them classes like TV classes, and as we teach them, we don't teach them the why, we teach them the how. And what I mean by that is we'll teach them how to build something simple, like stairs, for example. We'll teach them, how to build stairs. But we will not tell them why they need to build stairs. That is a very, very important thing. That's how we do this indoctrination so well.
So, it's as if the ideals are burned into their mind from a very young age.
Yes, you could say that quite frankly, yes. I would agree with that.
Now, on the topic of burning things, it looks like we've burned through all our time. Thank you again, Captain Beatty, for coming on today's show.
Thank you very much. It was great to be on here, Sean.
Up next, on Outside the Fire, we have an interview with Tampa Bay Lightning goaltender Nikolai Habibulin. He's going to talk about how him and the rest of his team just burned the Calgary Flames in the playoffs.